What's poppin', my skibbity rizzlers? Welcome back to another Asphalt Legends Unite update patch notes video. Today we got the patch notes for the Carnival Rush update. This is going to include two seasons, the first of which being the Carnival Rush season, and the second of which being the Gold Pursuit season. So before we get into the new cars and all the information for the first season, we don't have the info yet for the Gold Pursuit season. Before I get into all that, I do want to let you guys know, if you missed it, I was actually a guest on the Asphalt official channel doing a live stream with M Shadows of Avenged Sevenfold. We were doing some Ace Challenge races in the Discord. I highly encourage you to check out the recording of that. It should just be posted on the Asphalt channel. I'll link that in the description down below. It was so much fun. If you missed it, go check it out and subscribe to that channel for the next time we do some challenges, and maybe you can get into a race commentated by yours truly. Alright, so first things first, let's get into the new cars, because I know that's why you're all here, and we do have quite an interesting list of cars this time around, some of which you may recognize, some of which you might not, so let's get into it. Alrighty, so the first car we have here is the Chimera Evo 37, and this is actually probably my favorite car in this update. It's a resto mod take on the Lancia 037, one of the most famous rally cars way back in the 20th century. I say that like that's super old, but it's not really. Anyway, this is really cool. It's going to be a very high ranked D-class car, and we'll talk about how you unlock these cars in a little bit. But this is definitely one I'm looking forward to. It is a very high-end D-class car, like I mentioned, ranked just above the Volkswagen Electric R. So again, pushing above that 3000 rank for D-class is really quite nice. We do have a top speed of 185 miles per hour. So with nitro, you're looking at around 196, which isn't that great compared to other D-class cars. But if you take a look at the acceleration, handling, and nitro, you'll see that it actually is pretty darn good for its class. So I expect this to be pretty darn good for multiplayer. Maybe not that great for events because of that top speed, but either way, I just love the look of this car and of course its history, so I'm really looking forward to it. Alrighty, next up we have the FE Frangivento GT65. This is a pretty good B-class car, not going to be a king. It's sitting right around the Porsche Carrera GT in B-class, so pretty high up, but not anything too crazy. And it does have a top speed of 230 miles per hour, which is pretty darn good, and that's definitely this car's strong suit. It might look like a little bit of an Apollo N type clone, which I might be excited about because that car is fun to drive. But again, you do have some pretty good acceleration to back up. Handling and nitro don't seem to be the best. So again, I think that top speed is going to be where this car shines. So again, just a pretty darn good B-class car, nothing crazy. Next up, going back down one class to C class, we have the Porsche 911 50 Years Porsche Design Edition. So this might be a bit confusing. We already do have a 911 50 Years Edition, but I believe that one is the turbo model. So that's why that model is going to be a bit quicker than this one. And if you look closely, I do believe it looks like a convertible version. So hopefully we'll be able to take down the top on this one. But yeah, just like I said, this is not the turbo version, so it's a little lower in the class and the stats, as you can see, being a pretty okay C-class car, not anything crazy. You can see it doesn't have the blueprint of gold, it's just the purple ones, and it's sitting right around the Maserati Alfieri in terms of rank at 3,210. Top speed sits at around 194 miles per hour, so just over 200 with nitro, and you can tell by the bars on the left side of your screen that this car's strong suit will be the acceleration, handling, and nitro. Acceleration not being that great compared to the other electric cars we have in the game, so this might be just a nice car for a driving experience, but I wouldn't expect it to be competitive in multiplayer at all. Next up, we have the better C-class car in this update. It is the Praga Bohema, and it does look significantly better than the other Porsche. As you can see, the rank reflects that and the stats as well. It does have a slightly higher top speed at 196, so a bit above 205 under nitro, but as you can see, the acceleration, handling, and nitro are quite a bit better than the Porsche together, so that makes it seem like this will be a pretty good multiplayer car. Again, not really a king, but you are looking at just above the Renault, or I think right below the Renault RS01 in terms of rank. So again, not quite sitting right on top of C-class there, but again, I think this will be pretty good for multiplayer considering the combination of specs. Next up, we have a car that I know you guys have been waiting for, and I have as well, seeing as I got to watch a bunch of players play with this car and I couldn't. This is the Ferrari 499P Modificata. Now, just as a side note, this was the car used in the Ferrari HP Esports Asphalt Series 2024 finals, which you can check out on the Asphalt channel that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, which I got the opportunity to cast. which was an amazing experience, but you can actually drive now the same car that those players drove in the finals, and it looks like it's a really darn good A-class car with a top speed of around 223 miles per hour without nitro, so just above 230 with nitro. But the special stats for this are definitely the combination of acceleration and nitro. Well over 84 for acceleration is quite good, as you would expect for a Le Mans hypercar that's built for the road. Quite nice if you ask me. So yeah, this is going to be a beast in multiplayer. It sits right below the De Tomaso P72, so it's not just like an okay A-class car. This will be really nice for multiplayer, like I said, but it could be good for certain tracks on the event side of things. But either way, I'm looking forward to driving a Le Mans car in Asphalt Legends Unite, hopefully if I can unlock it. Next up, we have something quite a bit surprising. This is the LEGO Technic Chevrolet Corvette Stingray. So we already have the C8 in the game, but this is the LEGO Technic edition, and it actually does have quite a bit better statistics compared to the one we already have in the game. So it does sit one class above, and in terms of where it sits in B class, it'll be right above the Nissan R390 GT1 with a rank of 3,647, so not too bad. Not really a king, but also not going to be a very slow B-class car by any stretch of the imagination. You can also see that just like with some of the other cars in this update, the types of stats you're looking at is more agility and acceleration focused, with good combination of acceleration, nitro, and handling. So again, pretty darn good for multiplayer. Might not be the best for events, but it will be fun and easy to drive. I will talk about how you get this car in a little bit, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more LEGO cars in the game. And finally, we have the flagship vehicle in this update, the HTT Locust Plethore, with a bit of a callback to Asphalt 8. If you remember the HTT from that game, you'll feel right at home here, and it sits right above the Koenigsegg Agera RS in terms of where it is in S-Class. So not a king, and that makes sense because this isn't a Drive Syndicate vehicle, but also quite darn good. We've seen a little bit of some S-Class car additions recently that were sitting more in the middle to lower end of things. So I'm glad to see that a non-Drive Syndicate car actually sits right next to some of the other kings of the game. So in terms of top speed, it is a little bit lower at that 257 mile per hour mark, but look at that nitro. That is unheard of for a lot of the other high-end S-Class cars. So honestly, even though the acceleration isn't that great, if you're in slipstream game modes, this could be a beast for multiplayer. So I'm looking to see how well this car performs in terms of the handling stat, because we all know there's really no predicting it in terms of S-Class, but it does have a really high stat that itself. So honestly, this could be quite a sleeper for multiplayer. Alright, so let's talk about how you're going to get some of these cars, and first off, let's talk about the LEGO car, which I alluded to earlier. So you will have to wait for that second Gold Pursuit season, and we don't have a lot of information about the season itself, but we do know that this season will come with a new game mode called the Collector Mode. This is how you'll get your hands on the LEGO Corvette. And so this is going to be a bit of a spin on the time attack mode, where you start the race with a limited amount of time, and your goal is to grab as many collectibles as you can. So each time you collect one, you will extend your race time, and the more time you get will actually correspond with depending on how good your car rating is. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to pan out in game. Seems like one of those things where if you upgrade the car before the event starts, you'll have a better chance of unlocking it, which does seem to be the way that a lot of the events are going, unfortunately. But either way, at the end of the race, your final score will be based on the total amount of time, or I guess collectibles, you are able to get. So the other interesting thing is, as part of this patch note update, you will notice that it says it will be the first of a total of 4 new LEGO cars that will be released within the next couple of months. I assume the McLaren Senna will be coming back because it's already in the game and it's already there, but that means that we do have 2 other LEGO cars coming in the near future. Next up, in terms of modes, we have a big change to the private lobby system, and one of the most asked for features, and that is the ability to start a private lobby all by yourself. So no longer do you need an extra person to start the race, you can do it by yourself, which is really awesome. So if you just want to throw your car out onto the track and take it for a spin, maybe get some practice in, you can now do that, which is so awesome, especially for content creators such as myself, but for anyone who just wants to drive around. And the most important part, which you might have missed, is that it won't take any fuel. So yes, even though the private lobby system I don't think required a lot of fuel, this time around, even if you're just starting the race by yourself, you don't need any any fuel at all. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the career updates, but some changes have been made, including some rebalanced difficulty, more cars allowed to start some of the races, which is nice, and some of the objectives were made easier and some of the rewards were upgraded. Alright, so before we get into the special events, I do want to let you guys know the Praga Bohema will be the Unite Pass car for both seasons, so that's how you'll get that car. So let's move on to the special events. Again, we only know for the Carnival Rush season, which is the first one. We don't have the info yet for the Gold Pursuit besides the LEGO event. So it'll start out with the special event for the HTT Locust Plethore, and yeah, that's gonna have quite a few number of support cars like the Sesto Elemento, SC20, S7 Twin Turbo, Devo, and the Camaro Automobili Evo 37. So that's gonna be a bit of a doozy, but that's how you'll get the Plethore. We are also going to have a Pagani Imola SE, which is really nice, so I can max out that car, and an Unleashed event for the Lamborghini SC63. I believe this is the other Le Mans car that we have in the game. There's also going to be a Starway event for the Genty Aquilon, and the Grand Prix event will come back for the Camaro Automobili Evo 37, so I'm going to try hard the ever-living daylights out of this event. Not going to go into too much detail about the time-limited daily events because other channels will definitely cover that sort of thing, but I do want to touch on the car hunts we'll get, which the Unite Pass hunt is going to be for the Mustang RTR Spec 10th anniversary. Wow, that's a long name. We're also going to have normal just car hunts for everyone with the Porsche Panamera Turbo S, the 911 50 years Porsche design. I'm not quite sure if that's the new one that we have or if they're talking about the Turbo. I assume it's talking about the new one, which is quite nice. And finally, we will have a car hunt for the Aston Martin Victor. Alright, so before I get into the multiplayer changes, I just want to let you guys know there will be a nerf for the Pininfarina H2 Speed and a buff for the Continental GT3. Alright, I know this video is getting a little bit long, but lastly we have a bunch of multiplayer changes mainly revolving around rewards. So there's an updated spreadsheet I'm going to share with you guys on screen now in regards to the Triumph rewards that you'll get each series. It will be updated each series, and the difference in packs now that we have new cars. So unfortunately, my favorite car, the Venom F5, which I was hopefully trying to build up and get, has been nuked from the rewards, which is really disappointing. So here you can see the updated list of cars that will be added to each individual pack, again, going from Bronze all the way to Legend League. So those are the new cars that you could get in the packs. This will be rotated about every 6 months according to the patch notes, so it's a little disappointing to see that both it's going to change over time, but also some of the old cars are being removed. It means that just like me, if you were working your way slowly to unlocking some of those cars, you now just, well, won't be able to, because you'll just get random blueprints for random cars that you'll never see ever again in your life. So that's quite frustrating to me, especially as a player who doesn't have some of these cars. Like, I just have no blueprints for them, so it doesn't really help me that maybe every couple of months I'm gonna get some random amount of blueprints for it. I'm never gonna be able to unlock it. I know maybe you're not supposed to directly unlock cars from multiplayer, but this does discourage players from playing a lot of multiplayer if maybe they either have the cars already or don't have any blueprints whatsoever, because you don't have any reliable amount of blueprints you're going to get each season. Alright, so anyway guys, I definitely think the best part about this update is going to be that LEGO edition with the new game mode. It seems like maybe there will be a good chance of people unlocking it just through the game mode itself, and having a new thing to play is quite nice as well. Multiplayer changes I'm not so happy about, but overall this seems like a nice addition to Asphalt Legends Unite. And yeah, again, go check out the Avenged Sevenfold Ace Challenges races that I commentated in the description down below, and I will see you all later.